Throughout the mini campaigns and mini series of Critical Role, we've seen our cast of brilliantly talented and creative actors embody these, at times larger than life characters, every new story seemingly filled with a new unique set of people, each with their own strange histories, mannerisms, and stories. Though, out of the many Critical Role characters, one really stands apart from all the rest. Today on Fraud on the Telly, I want to talk to you all about the character that nearly broke Critical Role. For this, we need to cast our mind 8 years back to March 12th, 2015, to a small studio somewhere in Southern California, where a group of nerdy-ass voice actors were preparing to stream their Dungeons & Dragons home game for the first time to an online audience. Of course, little did the cast of Critical Role know at this time, but their show would very quickly turn into an online sensation, with every week thousands upon thousands of live viewers pouring into the Twitch chat to watch the crazy story of Vox Machina unfold. Naturally though, with the positivity comes negativity as well, and no one seemed to receive this negativity more than Marisha Ray and her character, Keyleth. Out of all of the characters throughout Critical Role history, I don't think I've seen a more divisive character than Keyleth. Well, I guess there might be Opal, played by Amy Carrero, but that's another video altogether. Newer fans to Critical Role might find that this is a bit of a surprise, as Keyleth and Marisha are both beloved to the franchise. And for many fans, Keyleth has become one of their absolutely favorite characters. But in many ways, those early years of Critical Role, Keyleth was kind of the odd person out. Keyleth as a character is this naive, awkward, half-elf druid, a young woman who lacks confidence, is prone to indecisiveness, naivety, and oftentimes ineffectiveness. In many ways, she's kind of like this stereotypical small-town girl who has found herself wrapped up in the big craziness of the outside world. Keyleth, you see, is the heir to the leadership of her Air Ashari tribe, but before she can inherit the mantle, she must complete her Aramente, a set of trials to prove her worth. Keyleth is an absolute nervous wreck as a person, a young woman devoid of all self-confidence, who seems to be, in all senses of the word, socially inept. These character traits make more sense when we, the audience, learn that Keyleth is following in the footsteps of her mother who left to finish her own Aramente when Keyleth was just a small girl. But you see, Keyleth's mother never came back, many in the tribe assuming that she died on her journey. Keyleth then now must lead basically her entire young life with the weight of these expectations on her shoulders, the absence of her mother a constant reminder of the duty that has been chosen for her. You combine this social awkwardness and naivety with a strong moral compass, and you get a very unique combo that just seemed to, well, never sit well with the fans. Oftentimes, Keyleth would find herself as kind of the moral voice of reason within Vox Machina, especially for these early arcs, something that the audience very much began to resent Keyleth for. Keyleth very quickly being labeled a buzzkill, as she would oftentimes push back on certain actions of the party, putting her at odds in character with the other members of Vox Machina. You see, there really isn't one reason why people seem to have hated Keyleth. Some people found her character annoying, some thought she was a buzzkill, others complained about how awkward some of her dialogue scenes were, while others would complain that oftentimes she would ramble, subjecting the party to long speeches, where many felt like her character would just come off as holier than thou for chastising the group for their moral decisions. More like their lack of moral decisions, I guess. In many ways, in these early Critical Role days, it was kind of hard not to dislike Keyleth at times. It always felt like there was at least one thing that you could find about Keyleth as a character that you as a person would dislike. Because I won't lie, at times she was pretty annoying. But you see though, this is what makes Keyleth, the character, and Marisha, the actress, so good in my opinion. In many ways, this kind of was the response that we, the audience, were supposed to have. Keyleth's broad story as a character is one that has been told thousands of times throughout history in many different formats. It's a coming-of-age story, a story of a young person who sets out to find and prove themselves, all the while their own self-doubts and mental issues play on them, causing them to oftentimes make the wrong decisions, to doubt themselves, or even to want to just give up altogether. In all honesty, the fact that so many people seem to dislike Keyleth as a character, to me, is a testament to the power of Marisha and the quality of Marisha Ray's roleplay, as necessarily, Keyleth as a character is really not the most likable person, especially upon first meeting her. She's supposed to be flawed, because really that is the heart of the Keyleth story. It's one of growth and transformation. It's a story about adulthood, about growing up and accepting responsibility. Keyleth as a character is naturally going to rub some people in the audience the wrong way. It's really inevitable with the personality of the character herself. As a character, she is super judgmental at times, oftentimes scolding party members for their moral decisions, or like we said, the lack thereof. Or oftentimes she would immediately distrust NPCs, such as the Mind Flayer Carlota or the Paladin Lady Kima. Oftentimes she would very aggressively confront the actions of other members of the party, leading to awkward scenes, such as the conversation with Ryshawn in Whitestone, where Keyleth continued to threaten the Green Dragon, refusing to work with her as an ally, which could have led to the city of Whitestone being destroyed and many people dead. Keyleth as a character isn't perfect, not by any means, but neither was the rest of Vox Machina. I mean, just take a second and remember all the stupid shit that Grog, Scanlan, and Vax did, just to name a few. Actions which almost always resulted in dire consequences for the party or for the characters themselves. There are many valid reasons to dislike Keyleth as a character, and in many ways, in my opinion, it almost feels like we are supposed to dislike Keyleth at first, as Keyleth's story is one of personal growth and development. The story of a young woman who was sheltered through much of her life and is now being thrust into an absurd situation where she is forced to learn about herself and how she will react under this world-crushing pressure. There are a ton of valid reasons to have problems or dislike Keyleth as a character. Unfortunately, many people focused on the less valid ones, such as Marisha's lack of professional acting experience when compared to the others at the table at this time in Campaign 1, many believing that the reason that her character came off as so unlikable was due to Marisha's lack of acting talent. Something that personally I think is hilarious, because to me, it almost feels like the exact opposite. Keyleth is unlikable or abrasive in many ways because of actually how good Marisha is as an actress at portraying this character. Some haters as well even believed in the early days that Marisha was only on the show due to her relationship with Matt. As in the more broad D&D community, there's a lot of tropes about the DM's girlfriend and how the DM's girlfriend ruins parties. Keyleth's story in a lot of ways really mirrors the classic hero's journey, a call to action, a refusal of the call, the crossing of a threshold, and the ultimate return with the reward. Keyleth's reward in her hero's journey in many ways is her adulthood, her self-belief, her self-confidence. Keyleth changes almost more than any other character throughout Critical Role, especially in Campaign 1. We see her grow from this fragile, shy young woman into a powerful, strong, confident, and independent leader. I really do think that Critical Role's animated series, Legend of Vox Machina, does an amazing job displaying Keyleth's stories without a lot of this extra negative baggage that came from the campaign. It really shows Keyleth's growth as a character and a person in a much more linear fashion, the episode Pass Through Fire in Season 2 being the most obvious example of this depiction of Keyleth's growth as a person, as we see her truly for the first time begin to have some self-belief in herself. Keyleth is one of those characters who I think is always just going to be misunderstood. Hell, even I didn't like her that much in early Campaign 1 days, but you know, as I've grown older, I've really started to relate to the Keyleth story more and more. Keyleth isn't supposed to be completely likable, at least not right away. She's an emotional and nervous wreck, a young, naive person with basically no charisma, no self-belief, but an extremely strong moral compass to guide her. This combination necessarily is going to ruffle feathers, but it really does so just because of how well Marisha plays the character, how well she embodies this person, which makes the character's personal journey all the more satisfying when you see just how much Keyleth grows from the beginning of Campaign 1 to the present day in the world of Exandria. Part of me wonders if Keyleth and Marisha Ray would have received the same backlash had Marisha not played Keyleth as her first character. What if she would have played Bo, her character from Campaign 2, in Campaign 1? Do you think that the audience would have had naturally a better reaction to the character of Keyleth, having seen what Marisha is capable of as someone who is role-playing, as an actress? Do you think they would have reacted as negatively as they did to Keyleth if they would have experienced her playing Bo first? It's an interesting question, an interesting thought experiment. Overall, Keyleth as a character got way more hate than she deserved. It's okay to dislike the character of Keyleth. In many ways, it feels like we're kind of supposed to dislike her at first. And throughout Campaign 1, we see her grow as a character, as a person, until she finally accepts that she is good enough, that she is capable, that she can survive in the heat of pressure, as she was made to pass through fire. Overall, Keyleth is probably the most misunderstood character throughout all of Critical Role. She's easily the character that has received the most hate from all of the parties, which in hindsight is pretty funny, seeing as she now has become one of the most beloved characters in the entirety of the world of Exandria. As always, guys, if you enjoyed the video or learned something new, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to see more content like this video, then click on screen now to learn about the strange fall of Campaign 3. As always, guys, I hope to see you in the next one. Stay safe out there. Until next time, peace, love, Audrey.
It was young love, young hearts were so pure. We trust love is so hard to endure. A few years passed, made the move out west. It became harder.